Sigiriya in Sri Lanka, biggest tourist attraction, visited by nearly 2,000 people every single day. Many believe that this place has a connection to Ramayana. But how true is this claim? Is Sri Lanka using the Ramayana's name just to attract tourists and make money? Or is there some truth behind the story? By end of this video, we'll uncover the facts. As we uncover this fascinating history, here's something fun for you. #AskHarryAnything. Every week, I'll answer the most liked or most asked questions in the comments. So as you watch this video, drop your question below using #AskHarryAnything. Whether it's about Sigiriya, Ravana, or anything else from history, your curiosity could even inspire the topic for our next video. So let's get started. Sri Lanka, once known as the island of Sinhala, has a history that stretches far beyond its colonial past. In Indian text, this place was referred to as Singadweepa. During British rule, it was called Ceylon. But after getting independence in 1948, the country reclaimed its identity, officially adopting the name Sri Lanka in 1972. However, this name isn't just a modern invention. It's deeply rooted in ancient traditions and text. In the old Sinhala language, Sri Lanka simply translates to island, and the island was also referred to as Lakshadweep in ancient times. These ancient names resonate with references in Ramayana, making many wonder, does the island hold clues to its connection with Ravana's Lanka? So let's dive deeper. In 266 BCE, King Devanampiya ruled over Sri Lanka. He was succeeded by King Kudatissa, then by King Bhattikabhya, and later by King Mahatikka Mahasanga. After this, history takes a 450 years pause. There is no record of any ruler linked to Sigiriya during this time. But then the infamous King Kashyapa comes into picture, a ruler who left a significant mark on Sri Lankan history. But why mention these kings? To understand that Sigiriya was not always linked to Ravana, over the centuries, many rulers built their palaces here, leaving their own marks. But even with all these layers of history, the site still holds traces of Ravana's legacy. Fast forward to 1826. During British rule, a British military officer and writer, Jonathan Forbes, was sent to this region. Forbes was fascinated by the local stories about a massive lion statue on a giant rock. According to him, even the locals didn't know where this rock was. However, this claim feels a little odd. How could the local people who live near such landmarks not know where the rock was? What seems more likely is that the locals did know, but weren't able to record their knowledge. And as usual, credit went to the British officer instead of the locals who probably guided him there. What do you think about this? Let me know in the comments. Even though Jonathan Forbes found Sigiriya, he couldn't climb to the top. He tried many times but failed because there was no proper pathway. It was only in 1853 that a team finally succeeded thanks to the help of local natives. These climbers, expert in using ropes, played a key role in this achievement. But unfortunately, history didn't record their names, even though their efforts were crucial. It's yet another example of how the contribution of locals were ignored during the colonial times. Later, the British began proper archaeological excavations at Sigiriya. In 1890, HCP Bell led these efforts. Gradually, archaeologists realized that the structure on the top of the rock were far more advanced than they had ever imagined. The summit wasn't just home to a king's palace. It had arrangements for hundreds of people to live. There were palaces, rooms and pathways, all carefully planned. In one area, 2 massive lion paws were discovered. These lion paws suggest that at one time there was a giant lion statue there. Over the centuries, it might have been destroyed either due to natural causes or during an attack by enemies. Based on the size of these paws, researchers estimated that the statue would have stood over 100 feet tall. This would have been similar to the Great Sphinx of Egypt, which was also a symbol of power for ancient rulers. Such statues weren't just decorative, they showcased the strength of authority of kings. The stairs you see today, made of metal, were added much later. Archaeologists haven't found any remains of the original stairs that would connect the base to the summit. This raises an incredible question. If there were no stairs, How did people manage to climb to the top? And not just climb, but build palaces at such a height? Even with today's metal stairs, it takes nearly 2 hours to climb the area where the lion statue is located. From there, an additional 300 steps that lead to the summit. Now imagine this. How did ancient builders transport millions of bricks and other raw material to the top of the 700-foot tall rock, especially without the modern equipment that we have today? To give you the sense of the scale, Sigiriya contains around 3 million bricks, and the summit spans approximately 4 acres. What's even more astonishing is the summit itself. It appears to have leveled before any construction began. The precision of this leveling work is so remarkable that from a distance it looks as though the top of the rock was sliced with a machine. How did the people of that era achieve such precision? These unanswered questions only deepens the mystery of Sigiriya's construction. Here's another fascinating detail. Several marks on the rocks appear as though they were made by machines. These markings, confirmed by researchers, are not natural formations. What's even more puzzling is their location. Some of these marks are found in places so high and narrow that it seems impossible for anyone to have stood there to make them. How could such marks have been created? Were they made using advanced tools? Or is it possible that the builders had techniques that allowed them to work with incredible precision even in hard-to-reach areas? Sigiriya isn't just a historical site, it is an engineering masterpiece. One of its most fascinating features is the monolithic water tank. This tank wasn't built, it was carved directly out of granite, measuring 7 feet deep, 90 feet long, and 60 feet wide. It still holds water today, even during droughts or extreme heat. And here's the most surprising part. The tank never overflows, even when it rains heavily. Its water level remains consistent. But how? The obvious answer would be that there's an outlet to drain the excessive water. But where is this outlet? And where does the water go? Till date, no one has been able to find it. What makes this tank even more remarkable is that it was carved out of a single piece of granite, making it the largest monolithic tank in the world. Granite is one of the hardest material to work with. Even today, carving such a tank would take months, even with modern tools. So how did they manage to do it thousands of years ago with just chisels and hammers? Adding to the intrigue are the marks found around the water tank. These marks don't appear to be natural. They resemble patterns that could have been made by tools, but not the kind of tools we know from history. So some researchers describe these marks as resembling the effect of stone being scooped out, almost as if granite, one of the hardest materials on earth, was softened and carved effortlessly. This has led to one fascinating theory, that ancient builders may had the ability to alter the physical properties of stone, shaping it and removing it as if it was a soft material. It sounds unbelievable, doesn't it? But the evidence is right there. The ancient builders left behind marks and structures that modern tools would still struggle to replicate today. Similarly, the Barabar caves showcase a breathtaking mastery of granite craftsmanship, leaving us to wonder about the ancient techniques the ancient artisans might have used. So be sure to check out a detailed video on Barabar caves right after you finish this one. Now, let me ask you, could such an extraordinary structure have been built by an ordinary king? The locals here believe that the water tank wasn't just any tank. It was Ravana's swimming pool, built by him thousands of years ago. But here's something even more puzzling. The palace didn't just use the granite found on its hill, but white marble, which isn't found anywhere nearby, was also used in its construction. White marble is scattered across different parts of the site, yet no one knows where it came from. This raises an important question. How was this marble transported to the top of the rock? Even though we don't see any pathways or stairs from that time, there must have been a way, perhaps a secret route, or even a mechanical lift. This wasn't just a palace built out of necessity. Its luxurious design and use of non-local materials suggests that the builders spared no expense. Transporting these materials to summit, which stands 700 feet tall, must have been effortless for them. Another fascinating feature here is the mirror wall. Today, it's hard to see why it is called that because it has been damaged over the years by tourists. But historical records describe it as a polished granite wall that shone like mirror, just like Barabar caves. Travelers who visited between 7th and 13th centuries wrote that the wall was so smooth that king would walk by it, admiring his reflection as he passed. Imagine the craftsmanship required to polish such granite to such a perfection. As you climb to the top, you'll come across a small cave along the way. These caves are adorned with around 600 fresco paintings depicting dancers, deities, and scenes from royal life. These paintings give us a glimpse into the grandeur of that era. However, there's a mystery here as well. When these caves were discovered, researchers found no pathways leading to them. The only way to access them now is through the metal stairs installed much later. So how did the people reach these caves back then? It's not just the top of Sigiriya that's impressive. The engineering below the rock is equally astonishing. At the base, there's a massive garden laid out in systematic manner. Beneath this garden lies an intricate hydraulic system that powered fountains and distributed waters throughout. Using gravity, this system collected rainwater from the top of the rock and channeled it into an underground pipes, which carried the water to the garden and fountains below. What's even more incredible is that this system still works today. The underground pipes built centuries ago remains intact and do not leak. Excavations around Sigiriya revealed something even more extraordinary. Just as the palace on the top was massive, so were the arrangements of its security. A large, squared-shaped moat was built around the palace, filled with crocodiles. To prevent anyone from crossing it, this moat served as the first line of defense, making Sigiriya nearly impenetrable. Mainstream historians may have their doubts, but some researchers believe that this palace wasn't built by ordinary humans. They argue that the lack of pathways to the top suggests that the use of advanced technology, possibly anti-gravity devices or flying vehicles. According to Puranas and Ramayana, Ravana possessed a flying vehicle called Pushpak Viman. This solidifies the claim of Sigiriya being Ravana's Lanka, or maybe one of his palaces. Puranas describe Ravana as an asur, someone with abilities beyond ordinary humans. His father was a sage, but his mother came from an asura lineage, which gave Ravana his extraordinary powers. Interestingly, similar stories exist in many religions, where gods and demons are described using chariots or flying vehicles to travel between heaven and earth. Could it be that Sigiriya was built by an asura using technology far beyond what we understand today? The Ramayana mentions that Lanka was originally built by Ravana's brother Kuber, before Ravana seized it through deceit. But what makes Ravana's Lanka so fascinating are the stories of flying vehicles or vimanas that he used to travel. In Sri Lanka, there are at least 10 locations with names linked to aviation. 4 of these places have even been identified as Ravana's airports by the Sri Lankan government. One of these locations, called Ravana Tota, is believed to be where Ravana landed his Viman after abducting Sita. What's intriguing is that the name Ravana Tota translates to a place where an ancient aircraft landed in the local language. This name has existed for centuries, long before the concept of tourism was ever imagined. Could these stories of Vimanas point to advanced technologies that existed during Ravana's time, or are they simply legends passed down through generations? The truth remains a mystery. But are these Ramayana connections just stories meant to attract tourists? Not necessarily. These links have existed for centuries and are deeply rooted in Sri Lankan history. While skeptics may question on the existence of Vimans or advanced technologies, ancient texts like Mahabharata and Ramayana provide detailed accounts that remain puzzling. Can we dismiss them simply because we lack knowledge to understand them? Perhaps there's more to these legends than that meet the eye. Here's another fascinating detail. Sigiriya's rock appears black, as if it was burned. Could this connect to the Ramayana where Hanuman set Lanka on fire? Geologists argue that the rock is a volcanic formation from millions of years ago, which explains its black appearance. But if that's the case, why is the rock yellow inside when its outer layer is removed? Could this be another clue linking Sigiriya to Ramayana? Critics may argue that Sigiriya wasn't Ravana's palace, and they're not entirely wrong. Sigiriya was indeed one of Ravana's palaces, but it wasn't the only one. Ravana's kingdom was vast, stretching beyond Sri Lanka. For instance, Supnaka encountered raw Ram in Panchvati, Maharashtra. This shows that Ravana's influence extended across India and even beyond. When Mata Sita was abducted, the Vanar army searched not just Sri Lanka, but the entire world, knowing that Ravan could have hidden her anywhere. So could Sigiriya truly be one of Ravana's palaces? The advanced engineering, the mysterious marks, and the connection to aviation in Ramayana points to a technology far beyond what we understand today. While mainstream historians may dismiss these as legends, the unanswered questions surrounding Sigiriya leaves us with much to think about. Whether you view the Ramayana as a historical account or a cultural masterpiece, one thing is certain: Sigiriya is more than just a marvel of engineering. It's a gateway to the mysteries of our past. But now, I want to hear from you. Do you think Sri Lanka is truly Ravana's Lanka? Or could the real Lanka be hidden somewhere else, waiting to be discovered? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Also, if you have enjoyed this exploration, you might love our video on the lost continent of Kumari Kandam. It has already intrigued thousands of curious viewers about unraveling India's hidden past. Check it out to a deeper dive into another fascinating ancient mystery that might connect to Ravana's Lanka. Thanks for joining me on this journey to uncover mysteries of Sigiriya and Ramayana. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe for more incredible explorations of history and culture. This is Harry signing off. Stay curious. Jai Shri Ram.